Exodus is not only slated to be the next big thing in gaming, at least in my eyes, but it's also slated to dip its toes into the tabletop RPG realm as well. With its already insane depth in lore released on their official site, slew of concept art, and what I could only assume is a planned out path for this franchise going forward, I think this is a unique but fitting step for the new IP of this caliber. And being that it's from veterans across the industry in terms of writing, development, and gameplay, I feel like it could actually have a shot of being successful. All of that aside, more than anything else, I'm excited for the implications it will also have for the video game side of things. They are doing a really good job of drip feeding us fans with Q&As, big presentations, and the occasional reveal on their website through entries and trailers. But I believe that this tabletop RPG book will also be a treasure trove of information for this new franchise, which is a major reason why I personally am looking forward to its release. I've already personally pre-ordered it and will be doing deep dives on sections I find interesting once it actually releases. So if that interests you, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video in the meantime to show off your hype for Exodus. But for today, we're going to be going over the 8 pages released so far of the Traveler's Handbook so we can see what information they've already sneakily revealed to us about the franchise already. So without further ado, let's get right into it as there is a ton of information to cover. We are going to be going from left to right in order as they appear on the Traveler's Handbook page on their official site and on the pages as well. That means that the first pages that we'll be covering from the site appear to be from Chapter 9, called Traveler Dynasties, and is covering pages 258 to 259, in which they are talking about the Aslan Dynasty, which we know is the dynasty linked to the main character we will be playing as in the game, called June Aslan, which is supposed to have been started by his father, Orion Aslan. I will be reading these entries word for word, and then giving my thoughts after every section. At the top, it says, your dynasty supports your character's many adventures, both within your home system and when you depart on Exodus. This chapter contains detailed descriptions of several dynasties that might be encountered or used as examples to create custom dynasties. So overall, this indicates that it may actually be the beginning of the Traveler Dynasties chapter in the book from that wording. Then we get a brief description and key details of the Aslan Dynasty, including the sigil they bear of the lion with wings, and if you haven't noticed, you will, they do a lot of wordplay with the word lion, as Aslan is actually lion in Turkish as their surname, and the city that they come from is called Lionesi. This section says Aslan Dynasty, relevant timeline 42,000 AD, star system Malakbul. A talented mercenary named Orion Aslan founded his own mercantile starship venture soon after traveler starships from other star systems began to arrive at Lydon, a large moon orbiting a gas giant named Galaris. After that, it says leadership. At first, Orion's aim was to grow a commercial dynasty the same as other human societies in the Centauri cluster. In this, he was successful, making several interstellar trips to acquire new technologies. The dynasty wealth grew with each voyage, allowing them to acquire more ships and expand their political influence. Next on up is a section on the Orion Aslan himself. Orion Aslan centers his operations in the city of Lionesi. To the citizens of the city, and largely to all of Lydon, he is seen as powerful and influential. Now we get to the eras which are essentially character arcs and periods that the dynasty goes through that seem to be essential to how and why they operate the way they do. Here we get the period of Era 1, which is about 20 years old. Orion is just growing into his power, becoming a respectable figure in Lionesi. He feels humankind now has hope for a better future, and he instills that hope into those who follow him. He has not yet established his dynasty, but can still offer many of the dynasty benefits noted later. Here he goes onto his anime main character arc, if you would, as he instills hope into everyone through his travels of optimism for a better tomorrow. Then we get into Era 2. Era 2 is about 30 years old. At this time, it becomes clear that Lydon's terraformed biosphere is in decline and unable to sustain future generations. Orion founds the Aslan Dynasty with a focus towards finding solutions to Lydon's ecological problems and searching out celestial technology, which might help to do so. During these years, Orion's close friend and fellow traveler is assassinated by a rival dynasty seeking to establish themselves on Lydon forcing Orion to respond. He destroys his rivals, severely weakening their power base and strengthening his own. Here is where the Rot, which is a pinnacle worry in the game's plot and main home planet, seems to come in. The plot is that essentially a technovirus from the thing that terraforms the planet's atmosphere, which I believe to be the Archimedes engine, I could be wrong there, starts to deteriorate, and they need to find a way to fix it before the planet becomes uninhabitable. The Archimedes engine in question are supposed to be made by the Elohim, the disappeared race that was technology more advanced apparently than any other race in the Centauri cluster. The very same race that made the gates of heaven the way everyone is able to travel great distances using light speed travel. It also mentions Orion's close friend dies without naming them, and I'm curious if that person could possibly be Matthew McConaughey's character being CC Orlev. But during the 2023 Game Awards announcement for the game, he did say he would have a unique relationship with everyone in the game, so maybe not. I also do have another theory on CC Orlev and what his role might be in the game, but that will have to wait for another video. Either way, the end part about Orion destroying his enemies does sound pretty badass, and makes it seem like Orion might be a force to be reckoned with. And then we get to Era 3. Era 3 is about 45 years old. Orion learns that the situation on Lydon is even more desperate than he earlier imagined. He starts to look for more ambitious and dangerous solutions. The stars answer us became not just his motto, but his guiding political principle. As a result, he undertakes longer and longer exoduses from Lydon. This essentially leads to the reason why at the time we get into the video game of Exodus, Orion is supposedly not around, because more than likely he is going on these more dangerous and longer excursions to try and find a way to stop the Rot once and for all before it's too late. At the moment that the game is supposed to start, it is said that Orion is missing in action, and his return, if it even will happen at all, is unknown at the start of the game. After that, we switch over to page 259 where we get into the enemies of the Dynasty. Dynasty enemies. The primary opposition to Orion comes from Traveler dynasties from other systems. On Lydon itself, Orion's power is largely uncontested, aside from operatives from various minor factions that grow concerned with Orion's ever-strengthening grip over the world. So basically, probably because of the show of strength mentioned before in Era 2 section, he is apparently uncontested now on the headquartered planet of the Aslan Dynasty. But there are other smaller factions seemingly waiting and praying for their downfall. Some that are just worried maybe the Aslan Dynasty could go power hungry if left unchecked. After this, we get into some interesting parts of Dynasty benefits. Some of these things mention relics, and really there is almost no way of knowing what they are. But there are some things I will call out later that will be mentioned in later pages. Dynasty benefits. The Aslan Dynasty, like all dynasties, provides characters with opportunities to purchase weapons, Aegis suits, and other equipment as described in Chapter 5. Additionally, upon reaching certain constellation levels and returning to Dynasty headquarters in Lionesi, characters are invited to select Dynasty relics to add to their personal arsenals. Here they mention Aegis suits mentioned on Section 5, and luckily we do get a couple of pages from that section later to know some of what they may be mentioning. They also mention constellation levels, which I would assume would be something we maybe get to level up in the Exodus game as well. Although at the moment, we don't get enough context to know exactly what these levels are, what they level up, or what they do. Now in this next section, they tell us what we get with our major milestone levels within the Dynasty. At level 2, characters now have access to a Cormorant and its shuttlecraft, an Osprey. See Chapter 8. Travelers using the ship on a mission must tithe the Aslan Dynasty 5% of the value of all valuables they recover. If they don't, they can't borrow the ship on future missions. Luckily, we do get the Cormorant and Osprey pages to see later on, so that is a huge plus. From the sounds of it, these seem to be the Dynasty's lead ships, which implies that these may be the ships we see a lot of during the game while we're off saving humanity with June and the squad. They also mention needing to pay a 5% tithe, which is essentially a fee or membership for being a part of the Dynasty that you pay forward to the heads of the Dynasty. Essentially, consider it a kind of tax. Then we move on to level 4. At level 4, characters can select one of the following remnants to own: the Ascetic Clamp, Bloody Lisa, or Grey Widower. See Chapter 6 of the Exodus Encyclopedia for details. And I do believe the encyclopedia just references like the handbook itself, because the tabletop RPG book is just called the Traveler's Handbook. Now, unfortunately, we don't have these pages in the preview images, but they do sound super interesting and might be some of the relics we'll be able to get to use in the game depending on our decisions to turn celestial tech into warfare usage or a knowledge-based use. This is something that the head developers have teased across their Q&A videos countless times. Then finally, we get into level 8. At level 8, the characters receive a suit of bug plate and can select another level 4 item, excluding the one they selected previously. See chapter 6 of the Exodus Encyclopedia for details. This level doesn't give us much to go on, but it allows another relic to be equipped that you may have passed on earlier, so I wonder how that will go over in the video game as well. After all of that, we are now finished with the Traveler Dynasty section they gave us a look at, and overall, for me anyways, it leaves more questions than answers. But it does give us hints as to something we will be able to get to use in the full game, including the ships, relics, and possible Aegis suits. Which, speaking of Aegis suits, that is exactly what is on the next pages that we get a preview to from the Traveler's Handbook. This comes from chapter 7 of the handbook and gives us a look at pages 196 to 197, where we get images of concept art for 2 Aegis suits, being the Assault and Chameleon suits. I will read their blurbs fully and then comment on the suits after. The Assault suit reads as follows. Assault suit, level 2 Aegis, Prodigy. And then afterwards it seems to be gameplay mechanics for the tabletop game itself. Activation time, bonus action, range, self, duration 1 minute, special, heavy armor, AC of 18, mobility penalty of -10 speed. The description of the suit itself reads as follows. There are travelers who see the infiltration of celestial ruins in purely antagonistic terms. For them, every mission is another battle in an eternal war between the civilization of the past and humanity's future. And the best way to win that war is with brute force. Assault suits use celestial tech to maximize protection and firepower, turning you into a walking tank capable of unleashing destruction on entire armies of ghosts. From this description, if it's not already a part of our arsenal in the game, will definitely be a warfare decision on found celestial technology. It seems that this is the warmongering side of what we can gear up in and seems to be the aggressive response in the battle against celestials. After this, we seemingly get a look at the suit's ability, which reads as follows. Magnetic Field. When you activate this suit's power, you generate a powerful magnetic field that extends in a 10-foot radius sphere, centered on you. This field distorts the trajectory of incoming bullets and similar ordnance, giving additional protection against such attacks. For the duration, any range attacks against creatures within the protected sphere have disadvantage. Additionally, while the field is active, you have a +2 bonus to attack rolls. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So basically, this ability creates some sort of bubble shield around you, stopping or redirecting projectiles that are fired at you, and as a bonus, they give you a bonus to your attack, which sounds great. Something like this would for sure come in handy if you choose to go the guns blazing route in the game. After that, we get to the Chameleon suit. Chameleon suit, level 3 Aegis, Prodigy. The tabletop game stats are as follows. Activation time, action, range, self, duration 1 hour. Special, light armor, AC of 15 plus dexterity modifier. Advantage on dexterity stealth checks. As you can see, this ability is going to be lasting a lot longer in an in-game sense, but has weaker defenses. But it's for a longer, more situational for stealth ability that we will read later on. For now, here's its description. Oftentimes, the best way to explore a celestial ruin is to avoid detection completely. When you activate your chameleon suit, it bends the light around you perfectly. In addition to basic camouflage capabilities and insulation to prevent thermal detection, light bending nanotechnology in the exterior layer of the chameleon suit renders you as little more than a shimmer to visual detection when activated. So here, it sounds like it's essentially camo from something like the Halo series, where you appear as a shimmer, but it uses the panels on the suit to bend the light around you while the suit itself insulates your body temperature, making you undetectable when it comes to a heat signature. Also, if you haven't noticed from the design already, it's the armor that we see in the Awakened Ravens trailer and the gameplay trailer in the stealth section that our companion uses when they do a simultaneous takedown as well. Next on up is the suit's actual ability. You have the invisible condition for the duration. Anything you are wearing or carrying is also invisible if it is on your person. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. I think one of the main things to take away here is that it says anything you're wearing or carrying is also invisible if it is on your person. So I'm wondering if they did this as to make way for some sort of heist, as maybe suggested in the gameplay trailer as well. That about wraps up the Aegis suit section that they provided us with, and that moves us on over to the next dual page image. This takes us back all the way to the beginning of the book, where we land on chapter 2, pages 26 to 27, and is called Factions of the Cluster. Here we get some crazy artwork of a ruinous city and some apparent travelers taking some samples and checking the place out, which I thought looked pretty cool. Then we get our only topic on the left page called Remnants. Centauri is littered with the scraps of the ancient wars that tore the cluster apart during the Remnant era. These remnants include mysterious starships, weapons platforms, legions of androids, abandoned experiments, derelict space stations, forgotten megastructures, and more. Remnant worlds are planets dominated by such things. Some of these worlds are home to long-forgotten changelings, others are graveyard worlds, the husks of planets consumed by dead civilizations. Here we get some lore on what these remnant worlds contain and what they are, and I was very curious about the section of the graveyard world. I can't tell if they just mean remainders of civilizations of the past that inhabited the remnant world, or like actual zombies of some sort. Especially because if I remember correctly, the essential zombies of something like Mass Effect, I believe were called husks as well. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Moving over pages to page 27, we get details about valuable salvage. The Elohim forbid disturbing the peace of remnant worlds. Therefore, though such places are filled with troves of salvageable technology and lost treasures, they are generally avoided by Celestials. There are exceptions, of course. The punishment for breaking the law is lost access to the pathways. Those willing to risk such loss have no qualms plundering these ancient worlds. So in this section, by the pathways they mean the gates of heaven to travel at light speed that we mentioned before. The part I was always confused with about the game though, is we are supposed to be travelers looking for celestial technology, remnant and otherwise. So if we go to a remnant planet looking for tech, won't we lose access to traveling space and time and lose everything we need to essentially be the traveler that we are? Will we be able to make a critical decision like choose critical technology over using the gates of heaven ever again? This part is so puzzling to me, and I just have no idea how this will be handled. Especially if this game ever gets a sequel, and in the first game, you make the decision to loot remnant tech regardless. But I guess they'll be explaining that fully during the game. After that, there is also a section talking about dangerous for humans. Remnants are among primary dangers that threaten humans in Centauri, in much the same way that pollution on Earth threatens indigenous wildlife. We don't have the technology or freedom of movement that empowers Celestials to cope with these dangers. Our survival as a species may depend on our ability to adapt to the existence of remnants so that we can safely navigate the cluster. This section was also very puzzling to me. I couldn't really tell what was going on here. I can't tell if they mean like maybe gravity is more crushing or lackluster on some of these worlds, or that just the air isn't hospitable for humans, and we would need to adapt to them in order to survive in the cluster. Either way, humans seem to be in danger at every turn, and not even just from the things that actively want to kill us in this universe. After that, we have our final section, which talks about construct intelligence. True artificial intelligence doesn't exist. However, constructs, machines with simulated intelligence programmed for a wide variety of tasks and services, are quite common across the cluster. Constructs range from humanoid-looking androids that serve as household staff, or fill mundane but necessary roles in society, to a wide variety of highly specialized machines, such as military constructs or medical robots. Remnant military constructs are referred to as ghosts. Here we hear that no artificial intelligence is active in the Exodus universe, but construct intelligence is, which is essentially intelligence specified for a specific task or duty and can simulate intelligence but truly doesn't have it. I wonder if something we will come across in this world is a version or basis for an actual artificial intelligence. As if any universe can pull off a storyline like that, I would assume it would be in this franchise. We also get to hear that the military constructs are the ghosts we have been seeing in some of the trailers, one of which may even end up being a companion if the silhouettes that appear on the game's website are to be believed. If you want to see my thoughts on not only the possibility of that potential companion, but all of the silhouettes on the official website for Exodus, make sure to check out that video, which will be shown on screen, which will also be linked below in the description of this video in case you want to check it out. After that, we finish off these pages from Chapter 2 and move on to our final pages, which are pages 246 to pages 247, which are a part of Chapter 8 called Traveling the Stars. These pages aren't very text heavy, but show off the ships mentioned before on the Dynasty chapter, being the Osprey and the Cormorant. The Osprey seemingly being docked inside of the Cormorant until it's time for a mission and for departure. We only get details on the Osprey itself, but we get images of both ships. The details for the Osprey are the following. The Osprey is classified as an excursion dropship. Size, length 90 feet, width 30 feet, height 18 feet. Cargo capacity 50 tons, landing capability yes. Crew 2, passenger 6, maximum interplanetary speed of 0.4 AU per day. It is more likely that landing vessels such as Osprey will be targets of attack either by planetary defenses or hostile ground forces. Thus, they are designed to be aerodynamic and tough. Then we get a bunch of images on screen, one of them being a cutaway view of the Osprey when you're looking at it from its side, looking at the Osprey's cockpit, which looks a lot like the cockpit we see in the first gameplay trailer for the game. We get to see an Osprey landing on a hostile world, which seems to be some sort of desert planet with a storm happening. And then on the left, we get two views of the Cormorant. One of its interior design with the Osprey still docked in its station, and another one with an Osprey disembarking from the Cormorant itself. I believe the Osprey is the ship we see in the gameplay trailer and the reveal trailer. The only thing is, the developers have touted that we will be bringing a certain number of companions, but have teased things like leaving loved ones behind. This makes me wonder if we will have to leave companions behind after all, since the room on the ship is a total of 8 people. If we take the beginning shot of the gameplay trailer, this could include June as a co-pilot, the female pilot that we saw at the very beginning, and up to 6 other people on the ship as well. Which could also lead us to inferring this could be the total amount of companions that we'll actually be having in the video game as well. And this very point is something that I mentioned in the companion silhouette video that I mentioned earlier. As I went over before briefly as well, we then get some awesome concept art of both the Osprey and the Cormorant as they look amazing. I can't wait to see some of the art we will be getting in the game of the ships actually flying around. The loading screen and traveling screens in something like the Mass Effect series were almost all screensaver worthy all on their own. So I'm curious and also betting that this game will also have some screensaver worthy scenes of its own. That about wraps up all of the details that we get from all of the images that they've revealed so far from the Traveler's Handbook. But there is a couple of details you may want to know about the handbook. The Traveler's Handbook, as of right now, is still pre-orderable all the way until January 31st at midnight. Although just like the dates to become a founder to get the in-game gear offered for it, which I actually have a video covering all of those details, which will be linked down below in the description as well if you're interested in that, the dates have been pushed back from the original date, which was January 16th at midnight. So it is possible that the dates may be pushed back again further, but it isn't a guarantee it will. On top of that, the book so far is set to release someday in either March or April. They haven't announced what month in particular yet, but I assume whenever the information officially becomes available, it will also come out with a firm day it will release as well. At the moment, we don't know how big the book itself will be, but from the images provided that we just went over, we know it'll at least have 259 pages with at least 9 chapters to it. From the Traveler Dynasty pages we read before being the farthest along in the book in terms of page count and chapter. The book is bound to have insights into things of the world like weapons, species, creatures, and relic details galore, which as I stated before, I will be covering all of the most interesting things I find when I receive the book myself. In the meantime, let me know what you guys think of all of this information and what intrigued you the most about everything that I covered in this video in the comment section down below. In the meantime, if you want to get your fix on some more Exodus content, I have you covered with a video about all of the scariest and creepiest species revealed so far for Exodus. And I also have another video that's based around the species of Exodus with a theory on the evil race of Celestials known as the Marayama, with a full breakdown of their trailer and speculation based off of their lore and the trailer itself. For everyone who's made it this far, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed or found it entertaining, make sure to scroll down and make that like button glow so we can reach our like goal of 25 likes for this video. While you're down there, consider subscribing as we'll be covering Exodus as updates come out. As always, your support to your viewership, liking, and subscribing is always greatly appreciated and helps me out tremendously against the celestial threat that is the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to catch you guys next time. Peace!